Welcome to today's episode of the Heaven and Elle podcast. I am your host, Elle Edwards, delighted to be here with you today. Today's episode then is as a result of a dream that I woke up with at 5:30 this morning. So some of you who follow along every day, you'll notice this isn't the episode we were meant to have today, but God had other ideas. So I'm going to share with you the dream and then how that played out, because it was sitting... I went back to sleep and forgot about this dream, and then about 8:30 this morning I was reminded of it, and I was like, okay God, what are you saying? And it felt really important to share this with you, and so this is what I'm going to do. I don't know who this is for or what the purpose of this is. I'll be quite transparent. I feel underqualified to share with you what I'm about to share, but at the same time it feels like if I didn't share it, it would be wrong of me. So with that caveat said, let me share the dream first of all. So, like I say, I woke up 5:30, but in this dream, I opened the front door, and there was a man there standing in a Lib Dem t-shirt. Lib Dem is a political party, not much into politics, but I like the Lib Dems. And he said, so he opened the door, and he said, "Oh, I've got a leaflet for you." And I said, "Oh, I've got some of those. Hang on, let me show you my leaflet." And so I left the front door, wandered into the house, and then came back with some leaflets. And as I stepped towards him, he sort of sidestepped me in and came into the house and made some comment about my horrible perfume. And I remember waking up incidentally thinking, my perfume isn't horrible. Actually, I didn't put any perfume on this morning. That's just a random aside. But he made this comment about my horrible perfume, stepped into the house, and I immediately woke up with this overwhelming sense of danger and this feeling of this person should not be in my house, and it was not safe for him to be there. Now, I don't know if you've ever had a dream where you wake up and for me, I have to play the dream out in order to resolve it. And so that's what I did. And what was interesting, when I was then exploring this with Holy Spirit afterwards, the way I resolved it is important because for what I want to share with you in a moment. So as I was this is 5:30 this morning, I was lying in bed. Okay, what should I do? So as I was, and this was a case of being half awake, half asleep. So I felt like I had control at this point of the dream. So in my dream at this point, I then used my watch to dial 999 and magically somehow was able to tell them where I live, and the police arrived immediately, took him away, and all was well again. And so I went back off to sleep, and I'd forgotten all about this dream. It was all fine. I do remember in the wee hours of the morning saying, "Okay, God, what's that about?" And he said, "Look, you need to have discernment. You need to be a bit sort of wise." Some of you know that I am. People will call me naive. I will let anybody into our house. I've had rows off my husband before because there was a gentleman who knocked on the door who was a blind artist and he wanted to show me his portfolio, and apparently that's a standard scam. We didn't get robbed, it was all fine. But I remember afterwards being told, actually, Elle, that's probably not safe. So I'm the kind of person who will welcome everybody and anybody, and I have no real sense of danger. But I woke up with this real sense of danger. But like I say, I went back off to sleep, forgot about the dream, was gone, went on with my day. And then early this morning, then about 8:30ish, it came back to me, and I was like, oh, okay. And I don't ever want to be guilty of over spiritualizing stuff. Sometimes an orange is an orange is an orange, but sometimes something happens and it can be a whisper from God, or there can be more to it than that. And so I was saying, so I said to God, I said, is there something here? What is this about? And he said, look, you need to share this story on the podcast today because it is a warning. Now, we don't usually do put warnings on the podcast. We usually do cheery stuff. We focus on love. But at the same time, this is, I believe, God reminding you of how much he loves you with a warning. And the warning is this: just because something or someone comes to you looking or feeling familiar, you don't need to let it into your inner circle. And I was exploring this with Holy Spirit, and I was asking, okay, what do you mean? And that inner circle can be two things. It can be inner circle in terms of people. So we are called to be welcoming to everybody. There's that verse in the Bible where it talks about, be a host to strangers and you might welcome angels. And we can do that. We are here to love everybody. Everybody's made in God's image. And at the same time, there's a difference between being welcoming to people and letting everybody in to that inner space, that inner circle. And so we are called to phone 999. And what is 999 in the spiritual realm? God, talking to God about this stuff. Not how we don't have to try and fathom this out on our own. Let me think, let me reason whether this person is somebody who should be in my inner circle or not. No, you've got a hotline immediately to God. And so that reminder that, and the reason I believe why, aside from the fact that I do this when I have a dream I don't like, the reason why I think it was important to finish that dream out was because of the way that it was resolved. It was resolved because in the case of the dream, I phoned 999. I live round the corner from the police station. They were here immediately. You live round the corner. You don't live round the corner from God. God is with you all of the time. And so that reminder, you are here to, when you're feeling that sense of, oh, I'm not sure about this, whether it's a person or a situation, you are to dial 999, or in the case of in the spiritual, talk to God about it. The other piece that he reminded me of as I was unpacking this, bearing in mind we did this quite quickly because this is all within the space of the last half an hour, and so I feel like this is stuff that we might be exploring again in the future. It might be another conversation starter episode. The other piece he reminded me of was about sometimes that familiar can be those thought patterns, those things, just because there might be ways that you process stuff or ways that you think things through, and you go, oh, well, that's just the way it's always been. Sometimes those just the way it's always been things, they are those familiar. They come to you, they feel familiar, but it's how it's always been. And actually that reminder I had this morning is that just because you've always tended to think a certain way for a long time, consider this your invitation to explore those thought patterns, to explore those pieces that have always been that way. Explore them with God, because if they're not, they may not be part of you being you, the person that he actually created you to be. We could list off so many of the different things in life that are not, we accept them as normal: frustration, anxiety, boredom, temptation to eat food just to satisfy us. Those are just the things that come to mind immediately. Anger, snapping at people, being short-tempered, gossiping, all these different things that we might have accepted. That's just who we are. That's not who you were called to be. I'm here today to invite you and remind you, you are a child of God. You are made in God's image, and he knows you and he loves you so, so much. And so whether this is something that you've never even considered before, or this is something familiar to you, I do really feel it's important. The reminder from that dream is that stuff that's familiar to you, you do not need to welcome it into your inner circle. And within the context of that inner circle is your mind. We are told to take every thought captive and make it obedient to Jesus. So this is your invitation. Ask God, okay, God, what are you saying? What is it you want me to explore with you? Know that you always have that hotline to him. You can talk to him about all of it because he loves you so, so much. Now, like I say, this is a lot to share within the context of one quick 10-minute episode. We may be unpacking this again in the future. So consider this a conversation starter. And of course, playground folks, we have that inner circle. You have that safe space, so we can walk that out there as well. And I'm not making this an advert for the She Soul Playground, other than to say that it is that wonderful safe space. But we need community. We need those inner circles of spaces where we can be you, so that when stuff comes up, we can explore that. We can explore that with God, and we can explore that within the context of that safe space as well. But more than anything, my real hope and my real invitation to you today, ask Holy Spirit, expecting an answer. What is it that you are whispering to me through this episode today? What does Elle's dream mean for me? Ask him, expecting an answer. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to share this. If you know somebody who needs this, please share it with them, because this one feels important. I don't know why, I don't know where it's going to go, but I just feel like somebody needs this. So please do share it, and do so with my thanks. I shall be back tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.